Hello there. My name is Mr. Kennedy, lecturer at ICS, teaching the School of ICT. So today we are going to look at SPSS data entry specifically, like I had mentioned before. So data entry, just entering data and trying to look at the figures. So in this section, you will learn how to define variables and create a data set from scratch. So to create a data set, that means the name of the data variable plus the type of the variable. So everything you learn in this section. So next, we'll look at creating the data definitions of the variable view. It's impossible to talk about SPSS or any analysis program without talking about data types of a data. So here goes each particular type of information, such as the income or gender or temperature or dosage, which is called a variable. So a variable is simply any instance that will be entered, be it the age, be it the county, be it the gender, the temperatures you've seen, and so on and so forth. You can have various types of variables, such as numeric variables. Those are any number that you can use in a calculation. String variables, those are which are simply text or numbers that you can't use in calculation. So you cannot use the name school in a calculation unless you're doing something else. Currency, numbers with two or only two decimal places. So it has only two and only two decimal places. Usually there is a figure and there is a point, then there are the two decimal places. So those are currency in SPSS. And lastly, variables with the specific formats. So creating the data definitions, the variable view continuation. So variable types, like quickly, if I can just run to SPSS and show you what I'm talking about. Here is SPSS. So variable types, we do have variable view and data view. So we are looking at this variable view, and when I talk of the variable type, I'm talking about this one right here. So I can have the name of the variable right there, and I have the type here. Then of course we have the width and so on and so forth, but the type right now we are mostly dealing with this type here. So variable type, when we talk of that, we're talking of this. And before we even look at the types, just want to show you what we are expecting. So we're expecting the numeric data type, or the variable type, the comma variable type, the dot variable type, the scientific notation, the date, the dollar, the custom currency, the string, and so on. So all those are going to be the variable types or the data types that we are talking about here. So yeah, so variable types of SPSS uses and insists upon what are called strongly typed variable. Strongly typed means that you must define your variables according to the type of data they will contain. So when we are defining, for instance, the age, we define it that it's going to only take in a number. So a person cannot enter a sentence like 20. Let's take it. We need numbers. So if we specified it that we need numbers, SPSS strongly insists that we only take in numbers. So you can use any of the following types as defined in SPSS. So the types you're going to look at is the types I've just shown you in the SPSS program. So the first one was numeric, a variable whose values are numbers. So a number, I know you know that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to infinity. So values are displayed in standard numeric format. The data editor accepts numeric values in standard format or in scientific notation. So a data editor, scientific notation, we'll look at that later, but it accepts it in numeric values only when it comes to the numeric data type or the variable type. A comma data type, a numeric variable. A comma type is simply a numeric variable whose values are displayed with commas. delimiting every 3 places, and with a period as a decimal delimiter. The data editor accepts numerical values for comma variables with or without commas, or in scientific notation. So simply we are talking about a number. Like I remember when I was in upper primary. Yeah, when I was in upper primary, I was taught when we write 1 million, we write it 1,000,000. That is a delimiter. A comma is delimiting every 3 places, so that one can also qualify to be a comma number. Then we also know that the dot usually denotes a decimal point, so it's also a delimiter. So that is for a comma number. Then I have a dot, a numeric variable whose values are displayed with periods delimiting every 3 places, and with comma as a decimal delimiter. The dot the data editor accepts numeric values for dot variables with or without dots, or in scientific notation, sometimes known as the European notation. So simply dot and comma numbers, they are kind of similar with a slight difference. Then we have the scientific notation, a numeric variable whose values are displayed with an embedded e or a signed power of 10 exponent. The data editor accepts numeric values for such variables with or without an exponent. The exponent can be preceded either by e or d with an optional sign, or by the sign alone. For example, 123 can be written as 1.23 raised to power 2. So e denotes the 10 times 10 power 2, the exponent. That's what you're talking about. Also, 123 can be written as 1.23 times d, also denotes the power of 10. And also it can also be written as 1.23 e plus 2. So that is with a sign. The e is with a sign, that means positive 2. And even 1.23 positive 2, which means we are now even ignoring to put an e, but we're putting a sign. So it can be a sign alone, or with a d or an e with a sign. So it can be negative 2 or 2. Negative means it's going to the opposite direction, that is to the left. Okay. The date, a numeric variable whose values are displayed in one of the several calendar date or clock time formats. Yeah, so they are displayed in one of the several calendar or clock time formats. Usually, you know the date format, and I have 22/06/2020. So select a format from the list. You can enter dates with slashes, hyphens, periods, or commas. Yeah, as we know, we have dates that are being written in different formats. So you can choose your format that we want to work with, either with /, with hyphens. You can also choose to work with the commas, and so forth. Now, the century range for the 2-digit year values is determined by your option settings. From the edit menu, choose options and click the data tab. Yeah, so you can either edit the range for your display of your year. You're gonna have 2020 being written as 20. It will also understood like 1999 just being written as 99, and then 1988 being written as 88, and so on and so forth. Custom currency, a numeric variable whose values are displayed in one of the custom currency format that we have defined in the currency tab of the options dialog box. So you define custom currency characters cannot be in the data entry but are displayed in the data editor. So as you enter it, you'll not see it, but as you display it, you'll be able to see the currency and everything. So yeah, Next, string values of a string variable are not numeric and hence are not used in calculation. They can contain any characters up to the defined length. Yeah, so when we talk of a string, we are just talking about those sentences or the values that contains an alphabet or a number, but they don't qualify to be numbers, so they cannot be used in calculations. So the uppercase and lower cases are considered distinct, also known as the alphanumeric variable. So alphanumeric from the two words alphabets and numeric and numbers. That's for alphanumeric. So it can contain both for the string, but not that it cannot be used in calculations. Now, because of SPSS uses strongly typed variables, you can have to make sure that all the data in any field variable is consistent. Yeah. So you have to just make sure that data in any field is consistent. Do not mix up variables. Now we look at variable names and labels. Very important to look at. So forget all the nice conveniences you find in Windows and the Mac computers for handling long and interesting file names, or even the leniency that some database applications provide in naming fields. In SPSS, variable names are 8 characters, period. Yeah, there's nothing to argue about. The variable names are 8 characters, period. That is it. So you do not enjoy the privilege of you naming the variables with whatever number of characters you want. You will only be limited to 8. Either you use 7, 6, 5, but you won't go beyond 8. And no funny characters like spaces or hyphens. So again, another limitation, but it also helps. There is a reason for that. So you don't use other funny characters, like you don't put a space on a variable name. You also don't put hyphens on a variable name. So when we talk of a variable name, if we just run to the SPSS again, what I'm talking about is right here. This name, the name, you'll be writing the name here. The type, we've just looked at it right here, all that. But the name goes here. So we're looking at the rules, and what we've looked at so far is that you cannot use spaces or special characters in defining the names. Now, your name should only have characters and not go beyond 8. We're just going to see that in a while. So let's go through the rules and see what are the rules for naming the SPSS variables. Some of them you've seen them in the description before us on the screen, but here are the rules to follow. So names must begin with a letter. Very important. You cannot begin a name with a number. So it must begin with a letter. So let me put a number. That one is a wrong one. So you cannot begin it with that. You see, the computer prompts me that the variable name contains an illegal first character. Yeah, a legal first character, very specific. So you cannot start with a number or a number. So you can only start with a letter. Next rule is the names must not end with a period. So a period, if we can quickly go back again to SPSS. So just write something like that. Yeah, variable name contains an illegal character. So that's because we've put a period. Yeah, so it cannot end with a comma or a full stop, and that is a period. You should not put that. Yeah, so it should be just plain. Just like if it's Kennedy, let it be Kennedy and period. You don't have to add anything. Continue. Sorry for the mix-up. Yep. Names must be no longer names must be no longer than 8 characters. So they should not be longer than 8 characters. That one you noted, and you again insisting. Names cannot contain blank or special characters. Let's look at those two. It cannot contain blank or special characters. So let's start with blank, and let's write a name there with a blank space. You see, there is a blank space. So yeah, variable name contains an illegal character because of the blank. And again, we've said a special character, a character like that, it's very special. So yeah, you see, it's prompting us to, it's prompting us to enter the right character. So yeah, and then again we said it should not be longer than 8. So let's write 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So if we go beyond by 1, observe what happens. Oh my, is that 8 really? Yeah, let's go beyond 8. Let's see what's happening. Yeah, if you can see with me, here is the names, but now should not go beyond 8 characters, as you can note from the variables that they have put here. Very specific. Resume. Names must be unique. Unique means the name must not be the same. You should not put the name like client 1 and again client 1 twice. Just put client 1 and the other one put him client 2. That will be different. So if you put client 1, that's similar, it will bring problems. So you should have unique. Names are not case sensitive. That means if you use capital letters, small letters, well and good. So there is no limitation on that. You can use capital, you can use small, you can use mix, but all that the computer will understand it being client. So those are the rules, and that marks it. I hope we will go through the notes. This was a summary, but we have much in the notes if you need to know all this. So I'll call it a wrap there, and bye bye. God bless you.